not a big fan of this movie, but could you please, in the comments, let me know if The Nightmare Before Christmas is a Christmas movie or a Halloween movie? Please fight in the comments.
Delicious hot schmoes.
Okay, I watched Tron again. That's the movie I went and saw.
You think you're in control of this?
Hey, but I saw it in Screen X this time, so that was unique. It was good. Wasn't the best Screen X movie I've ever seen, but it is definitely better than some that I've seen. My favorite movie that I've ever seen in Screen X was The Creator. That's just one of my favorite movies ever, though, so that's a little bit biased. That movie is just so much fun. Just go watch that movie if you haven't watched it, please. It was so much fun.
Why is that? It's just a feeling. Fascinating.
But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about two things. We're here to talk about Star Wars. And we're here to talk about Gen V. Very different things within the world of entertainment. But for the moment, let's talk about Star Wars.
This is where the fun begins.
I love Star Wars for the most part. I don't love the sequels, and there's one or two shows that I don't love as pieces of media, but Star Wars as a mythology, Star Wars as a core story, and Star Wars as just visual beauty is the greatest thing that entertainment has ever created. I love Star Wars.
Good.
And there's been some news about Star Wars recently that is centered around an individual, and that individual is Adam Driver.
So go back to the club.
Adam Driver, if you did not know him, is the man who played the best part of the sequel trilogy, Kylo Ren. Adam Driver is on record talking about a movie that he and some other creatives pitched to Lucasfilm to get made, called The Hunt for Ben Solo.
You know what I've come for.
Now, there's not a lot of information about what this movie was going to be, but this movie was supposed to take place after The Rise of Skywalker, so after Kylo Ren technically dies, but it was going to explore him in another realm, potentially either coming back full circle into the light side of the Force, or, maybe we could see him fall back into the darkness. Because it is really interesting, because Kylo Ren is kind of the opposite of Anakin Skywalker in an interesting way. Because Anakin Skywalker, as an individual, is kind of born into darkness, but he's trying so hard to be in the light. And Kylo Ren is the other way around. He's kind of born into the light, but he's trying so desperately hard to be in the darkness. And what's interesting about that is they both meet at the same place, which is Darth Vader. It's such an interesting kind of push-pull dynamic between these two characters that are related by blood. However, the sequel trilogy did a terrible job of telling Kylo Ren's story and everybody else's story in that realm. But that character has a lot of nuance that could have been incredible. And so to hear that he was ready to work on another project with Lucasfilm and pitch this project, and that Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy and Dave Filoni, they liked this project, but then they took it to Disney and to Bob Iger. They said no. And the reason why is because we don't understand how Kylo Ren can be alive. Dude, what do you mean you don't understand? Just roll the clip of all the other characters that have been shot, stabbed, killed, eaten, consumed, and are still alive. Some of the greatest characters died and came back to life. Or theoretically have died and then come back to life. There's also some really crappy characters that have been in situations where they should have died and they didn't. And there's characters that died that they should not have brought back.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
But what is... Like, I don't like the sequel trilogy, but this kind of pisses me off. I love Star Wars. I want more good Star Wars. So I want Lucasfilm to keep shooting their shot. Hopefully one day they'll hit me with another banger. But I'm just a kid who has a full-time gig and every Monday posts a stupid YouTube video. So I don't know what I'm talking about, but what I do know is that Adam Driver is one of the greatest actors of our generation. And the fact that we had him in what was, at least at one point can be still to this day, the greatest IP ever created. Come on, man. Bob, what in the world are you doing up there? Obviously not your job, because this probably would have slapped. And you want to know why I know that it would have slapped? Is because this movie's was not only headed by Adam Driver, but was written by the same guy who did Ocean's 11, which is regarded as one of the greatest movies ever produced. So Disney, what are you doing? Come on, Bob. What? Why? Why would you do this to us? Why would you do this to us?
You were the chosen one! It was said that you would destroy the Sith, not join them!
I'm gonna stop yelling at you guys, because you don't need to hear me scream about Star Wars. But just let me know, what is your favorite Star Wars project, and why? My favorite Star Wars project and is a movie. My favorite Star Wars movie is Rogue One. It's not the best Star Wars movie. That probably goes to either Revenge of the Sith or The Empire Strikes Back. But my favorite one is Rogue One, because I love the story that it tells and I love the characters in that movie, and it's beautiful. That movie is just beautiful. But yeah, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? Let me know down in the comments, or project if you like the Acolyte. Now, if you like the Acolyte, just maybe don't comment. Don't comment if you like the Acolyte. All right, let's talk Gen V. Gen V is such an interesting way to tell a different part of the boys' storyline that I think if you like the boys, you really definitely should watch Gen V. The stories are much simpler, and the story is much more not grounded, but it's very much, it's very tight knit. But oh my gosh, this season was so epic. It just finished just a couple days ago. We got our finale of season 2 of Gen V, and it does seem like it's leading pretty much directly into season 5 of The Boys. So there's probably going to be a lot of either, if not just cameos, actual characters from Gen V playing big roles in the next season of The Boys. Now, spoilers ahead for the finale of Gen V, simply because I want to talk about a couple things. So if you haven't watched the show and you don't want to be spoiled, come back later after you watch the show. In this final episode of Gen V, we are posed with a situation where the main characters of our story, all of the teenagers / college students, whatever you want to call them, are looking to face up with / against the main antagonist of this season, which is Cypher. Now, what's really interesting about this situation is we get a really cool sequence of Cypher following his kind of plan to help Soups become more powerful, but on himself. He takes a moment away from this plan that he has made to try to improve his own ability. And we see him take control of like 15 of these college students at the same time. And it's really impressive and very scary, because then when our protagonists show up, he starts to be able to take control of them and control of Marie, who, if you didn't know, is one of at least 2 Omega level Soups that he had created under the Odessa program. Her and Homelander. And his idea was, well, if I can control Marie, then I can control Homelander. Which, at this point, is very scary, because if he's controlling Homelander, that means that he's probably going to use Homelander to kill everybody who's not already, like, super powerful. But we do get to see him and the rest of the squad fight. We get to see Polarity kind of redeem himself and throw some good hits at Cypher. And we get to see Marie kill Cypher, which I expected, but I didn't want it to happen. Simply because I did want Cypher as a character to play a role in The Boys Season 5, but obviously he probably wasn't ever going to be in Season 5, so they had to kill him, and so all that sort of stuff had to happen, which is fine. But I did want Cypher to play a role further into the story, because the crux of his character is so, like, cool. In, like, a terrible way, because he's evil. But, like, you're just like, oh, I want to see this guy try to achieve his goal, and then just get absolutely stomped by, like, Starlight or Butcher or someone like that. I would love to see something like that. But instead, we get to see him get his butt kicked by a bunch of college students and Marie when she makes his body explode. But the thing that I honestly, like, as much as I loved this season and as much as I enjoyed this finale, my favorite moment of this season and of this show was at the very end of this episode, right before it cuts to, like, credits, like 2 minutes, somewhere, like 45 seconds, 2 minutes before they cut to credits, somewhere in there. The main crew ends up running away from Godolkin University so that way they can stay safe, because Vought is coming to the university to see what's going on. And they end up on the road in a car in the middle of nowhere, and who shows up? None other than Starlight from The Boys, and probably my favorite character from The Boys, A-Train. And they show up as part of the Resistance, and they're there to both help the kids stay safe, and to ask them to join the Resistance, so that way they can try and take down Homelander and Vought. But there's this, I don't know why, but I loved seeing, like, A-Train show up in a position where he's just like, yeah, no, I'm 100% part of this Resistance. You guys need to be more careful. Let's go kick some butt. And I just love that character, so I loved seeing him in that moment, in that capacity. I loved it. So, yeah. That's my Gen V take. Go watch Gen V if you like The Boys. If you haven't seen The Boys, be very careful when you watch The Boys. Great show. Don't recommend it. And Gen V is just as good, in my opinion. So, that was this week. Star Wars, terrible news. Gen V was great. TRON was phenomenal for a third time. And once again, we had another successful week where every single thing that I consumed was better than Tombstone. Worst movie in the world. Never seen it. Never will. Peace.
Delicious hot schmoes.